Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Kirby and the Forgotten Car Keys. Does anybody know where they are? I've misplaced them.
I hate the phrase. It's always in the last place you look. It's like, yeah, because you found it. You're not going to be
By
looking anymore.
by definition, everything is in the last place you look. Oh, it's like first try. Oh, that was your last try.
Yeah, because I'm not looking for it anymore.
You see, for some people, technically correct is the best kind of correct. And we call those people assholes. It's me. I'm the asshole.
You can now be Pope Kirby whenever you want.
Yeah. So I think we might have brought this up last time, but there's not last time, but in a previous part. There's, generally speaking, a fewer total amount of power-ups in this game. There's only like 12, I think, which is fairly small. That's like Dreamland 3 amounts of individual powers. The variety comes from the upgrade system that they have going on here, where they start off about as simple as they were in like Kirby's Adventure, where there's like one move, and then as you upgrade them, they get more powerful, and in some cases you get additional things you can do with them.
Hi, Kirby 64 reference needle.
Yo, dude, there's a lot of Kirby 64 references in this game, which I appreciate.
Well, because it was the only game with combining powers, so it was a logical evolution of evolving powers.
Yeah, I like what they went for with the evolving powers idea. With that said, I do still miss the pure variety somewhat. I don't think we need like 40 powers or whatever, because I think that's Star Allies, I think, has something like 30 powers. And I don't think you need really that many. But I would like a little bit more. I would like kind of a halfway point where you have sorry, I'm just I'm just that guy. If I screw up in the first second, I will reset.
Restart.
I've always done that. But yeah, I think I'd like a halfway point between having a lot of powers and having like this kind of system where they get deeper the more you upgrade them, because I do think it's neat. Although one problem, it's not really even a problem. One thing that people have brought up is that even after you upgrade the powers to max, they're still not as involved as the 2D powers often are. If you play the 2D Kirby games and you look up like the fighter move list or the sword move list, it looks like you're playing Tekken with how many different moves there are in there. Again, I've brought this up more than once. I don't need them to be that complex, but I think a few more like hidden abilities than what they have for most of these would be nice. I've brought up, I believe in an early part, that this isn't like in my like top 3 Kirby games, and even though it's great, I'm not trying to say it's not. It's kind of stuff like that is why it's not one of my favorites, is just because it's still very clearly a first attempt. What makes me excited about the future of the series is that their first try at it was so good. So if things improve in quality the way that they did for the 2D games after Return to Dreamland.
No, it has to go the Nintendo method of things, where we get a great first attempt, which is the N64, and then we get a really weird second attempt on the GameCube.
Oh my god!
So we're gonna have Kirby Sunshine or Kirby Wind Waker or something like that.
Oh my!
And then we'll get our perfect one.
I hate how much that you're right in that. The N64 was like the Super Mario Brothers 1, and then the GameCube was like the Super Mario Brothers 2 Doki Doki Panic, where it's like the weird quirky one.
Or Zelda 2. Or
it's like
Simon's
the weird
Quest,
quirky one that has like its extremely devoted fans, but was generally not as popular. Like, I hate how accurate that is to those two consoles. Wow. But yeah, but like if we look at Kirby specifically, Kirby Return to Dreamland was good, but I wouldn't say it's great. I'd say it's just good. And then Triple Deluxe and Robobot were amazing. So I'm hoping that that same pattern follows here. I don't know why out of those games, though, they decided to remix Dreamland, Return to Dreamland. It's like...
Because it doesn't have a second screen bullshit going on.
I mean...
Not that it matters for Kirby.
Like, there wasn't really anything on the second screen in the 3DS game,
there were small little gimmicks here and there.
Like there was more like 3D
tap
gimmicks.
For food, but yeah.
Like the tap for food could just be like a button, a la like Mario World.
The point is that there was enough that they would have to significantly retool parts of the game, and that would take more work than just doing the game that doesn't require that.
I mean, I suppose. It's
Kirby. It'll still sell around 2 million units regardless of what they did. So
I mean, at this point, I'm kind of like, I'm thinking that the Switch is maybe on its way out.
I mean, the Switch is 5 years old.
No, it's 5.
6 years
it's 7.
Old. God, why am I so old?
It is 6. It'll be 7 next year.
Why am I so old? God. Okay, but yeah. So the Switch is 7. I mean, I think that's totally reasonable.
6 is about as long as it usually lasts.
The Switch is older now than the Wii U was when the Switch came out.
My point is though that they're probably not pushing the Switch as hard anymore because like after Tears of the Kingdom, I don't expect there to be any like big Nintendo entries for it.
I mean, it depends on how much effort it takes to make them.
Depends on effort and what constitutes as big, because I know at the time of this recording, IGN basically said something similar, that it's going to be a fairly sparse year after Tears of the Kingdom, and people are like, but what about Pikmin? It's like, Pikmin's not going to sell anywhere near as much as Tears of the Kingdom is. I mean, it'll still probably sell around 2 to 3 million units, don't get me wrong.
The Switch will make anything sell. Is also
so,
the
but it's a fairly niche franchise, so it's like,
yeah.
You could have Pikmin and F-Zero and Golden Sun and all this other stuff come out after Tears of the Kingdom, and it'll still be a fairly sparse, quote unquote, year because it won't have that potential 20 million seller in it.
Oh yeah. Well, Pikmin isn't a very expensive game to make overall compared to some of the other stuff they'd put out.
In terms of scale, yes.
I mean, it's not as cheap to make as something like Animal Crossing, but you get my point.
Yeah. It's a very strange comparison with those two because like Animal Crossing probably takes more time to develop, even though the release schedules for those series wouldn't make you think that, considering how long it seems to take to make a Pikmin game. But like, there's so much dialogue to write and like stuff to make for Animal Crossing. Not really content, but like stuff. And you have to bug test every individual like chair that you make in Animal Crossing, just so and then stuff. but most of the time that they devote to making an Animal Crossing game is just like figuring out what they want to make, making it, and then just making sure it works right. They don't need to set aside a specific day to have everyone in for voice acting or anything like that because all of the dialogue is text only.
And then they make one that sells like 30 million units due to getting the luckiest release schedule ever and decide not to make any DLC for it.
Hey, Happy Home Designer wants you to shut your mouth, all right?
Nintendo's just been weird with the last couple of years and their big sellers and DLC. Like,
there's some DLC that's among the best they've ever made. Like, the Mario Kart DLC, awesome. I know that, like, the graphics aren't as good, like, whatever. It's also another 50% Mario Kart tracks.
You're also getting it for less than $1 a track, so.
Yeah, that's, like, awesome. And then, you got some games like Mario Party Superstars where...
It's the game everyone wanted, and everyone just wants more of that. You decide not to do that. Although knowing our luck, a direct will happen next week, and they'll make DLC.
Listen, I'm fine with that. Like, I know that we like complain that it makes these videos out of date, and it does. But if I woke up next week and saw that they added a new Mario Party 3 track, like 2 Mario Party 4 tracks and a Mario Party 5 track to Mario Party Superstars,
can we skip 5 and go to 6?
5's bored. What if they add more 5 minigames? Because 5 has like bad boards but good minigames. Is the problem with that one?
Anyway, yeah, the point stands. It's like We don't mind getting outdated if it's for good news. You mind
Yeah.
getting outdated if it's for bad news.
Yeah.
And then for Pikmin 3 Deluxe on Switch, it happened twice for both good and
God.
bad.
I can't help wondering why they didn't do more with New Horizon though, because like
You lucked into the best possible release that game could ever hope for, and you do nothing with it.
Well, they lucked into the best possible release and the worst possible time where they could be working on DLC, because the
That's
DLC
also
they
fair.
could be working on is was during the height of the pandemic. I think that
That's also fair.
I think what happened was Splatoon 3. Splatoon and Animal Crossing have the same devs, which is weird to me because they're such different games. They almost certainly had to go straight working onto Splatoon 3 after Animal Crossing was
that's
finished.
probably what happened.
I mean, Nintendo, there's a solution to this where Nintendo could just hire staff to make DLC. Animal Crossing very clearly made them the money that they needed to do that. But, that's silly. Hiring the staff that you need in order to make the products as good as they can possibly be, that's just silly talk. It's lunacy. Sorry, I'm very spiteful about how Pokemon Scarlet and Violet turned out, because that game's like...
To be fair, that's Pokemon Company, not Nintendo. So
I know.
I mean, but Nintendo does it too.
Yeah. And I should also specify, because you can't read my mind in the comment section. I'm not spiteful because I think that Scarlet and Violet are bad. I'm spiteful because Scarlet and Violet are good and could have been way better.
Yes.
And it's not. That's what's like.
I'm still waiting for another update, since they did say that.
That'll happen later this month because they always do something for Pokemon Day.
Oh,
yeah,
I see.
that's what, February
27th, I think.
Yeah, so that will definitely be out of date for this video.
To get back to the game for half a second, one of the things that I like about the upgrade system in particular is that it doesn't just upgrade the stuff that you can buy in the shop; it upgrades the stuff that you get from the enemies. So,
yeah, that's true.
you can decide which version of a particular power up you want the enemies to give you when you absorb them. I think that's cool.
Yeah, you can also, once you get to the end game, power them up separately. You can increase the damage of just the second tier of ability, which does matter, because for the cutter and sword in particular, the second tier is fairly different than the third. For most of the other ones, it's just that one's just worse than the final one. I would
but then for sword you get the last one, and then it's just kind of well, nope, this one's just the best.
Yeah, sword, final sword is just unequivocally the best power up in the game, and it makes, in traditional Kirby fashion, if you're trying to beat the super boss, it is legitimately fairly challenging. So it makes that a lot more feasible to do without having to cheat and use amiibo or something. So that's nice. I think one thing that I would appreciate is if they're going to do ability powering up again, is having certain versions of power-ups be different and letting you pick which one. I like the idea of, you can pick the slow high damage one or the fast multi-hit one or other variants of that. And then having that customization angle, as opposed to, instead of just, you get the better one, you have these different options. That's neat.
The reason they tend to do it that way is because they know players will be upset if they get an upgrade, waste a resource getting that upgrade, and then don't like the upgrade.
Yeah, not that I think that Kirby should have a skill tree, because that might be a little bit too much action RPG fiddling for this type of game in this audience. But Mario and Rabbids, the first one, not a game I love, but it's good. That has a skill tree, but at any time you can take all the skill tree points away and put them back in any other order you want. Dragon Quest XI actually lets you do that too. So you're never locked into a skill build that you don't like.
Yeah, it's more like the way the Proud Souls worked in Devil May Cry 4. The number of the number of points you get isn't so much about, resource management. It's about how much can you have equipped at one time. And
That's actually very similar thought to the badge mechanics from Paper Mario and Hollow Knight. Have you guys played Hollow Knight?
Yeah.
Okay. Have they announced a release date for Silksong yet?
No, just sometime this year.
Oh, sometime this year. It's been sometime
which-
this year for 3 years. Okay.
I
sure.
haven't played Hollow Knight.
They're saying for sure this year, but also it's a matter of High Nintendo Direct. You can also change that for us.
Yeah. I think you would like Hollow Knight, Lewis. It's like a Dark Souls Metroidvania, and I know that like Dark Souls is also Metroidvania, but I mean like Metroid 1 NES, but also Dark Souls.
Can I just say that I dislike Dark Souls whenever it's placed into a 2D context?
I mean, that's fair. What I liked about it is that it was a Metroidvania game that felt more like Metroid than like Castlevania, which is fairly rare. Like most of these kinds of games lean much more towards like the Castlevania. You get multiple weapon types and stuff like that, whereas
it's a lot
Hollow
easier.
Knight-
It's a lot easier to lean into the Castlevania design of Metroidvania than it is to lean into the Metroid design of Metroidvania.
Yeah, which is, I think, part of why there's only 5 Metroid games, and there's like 10 Metroidvania Castlevanias.
Yeah.
Also, I'd like to point out the flip side of the coin, where instead of losing by half of a second, I only got that one by half of a second. So I'm very on the
Life gives
edge
and takes.
of being good at video games today.
All right, it's time to take on Guy Trieri.
Guy Trieri, welcome to King DDD's Drive. Oh my God, King DDD, King Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives. Oh, yo, man, I just found the secret life hack.
I don't get it.
Leave the
food-
town.
It's a Food Network meme. I do remember this one. You have to play this without a
power. Yeah.
I didn't discover my love of cooking tutorial videos until I had long since left television behind. So, yeah.
It's funny that you can tell when somebody's a child of the internet or they're not. It's just like, as opposed to calling it a cooking show, you call it a tutorial video. Back in my day, a tutorial video was made on Windows Movie Maker 3.1, and people would screen capture their desktop and write in the Notepad app in order to tell you how you're supposed to fix this one obscure problem with your computer.
Well, look, okay, cooking videos online, unless they're like by the fancy chefs like Jamie Oliver and stuff who have no expectation of you actually doing anything with it, they actually do tell you how to cook things. As opposed to just show someone cooking and expect you to be entertained by that.
All right, I'm going to make this souffle here, right? So I'm going to show you putting 2 eggs in a bowl, and then I'm going to go to the fridge and pull out this completely made souffle and say, oh yeah, the rest of it's like that.
Also, we traded on a Guy Trieri's roots.
The thing about like YouTube and stuff is that, yeah, okay, here in the gaming space we tend to think of it as all like screamy and immature and swearing and stuff, but it also like it opens up a space for a lot more of the kind of calm stuff that television wouldn't touch anymore.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time the History Channel did any actual history stuff? I don't know.
Like, now that you're saying that, really the only thing with that kind of vibe I can think of being on real TV is Bob Ross. And
well, Bob Ross was also PBS.
Yeah, that's true. But like, something
that's already successful, basically.
Depends on how you define PBS as successful. They literally beg you for money every 10 minutes on that show.
Yeah, but the point is, they know people will watch Bob Ross, or at least they know people will put Bob Ross on the background while they're trying to meditate or something. But like when I want to find something that's like laid back and looking at something historical or educational, I'm not going to television for that shit. I'm going to like YouTube or Curiosity Stream or something like that, because like television doesn't really want to like. They don't want to. They don't want to risk giving airtime to something that only a niche audience will want. But the internet is like, you can just put it up there, and the niche audience will watch it when they want to, and everyone else will go watch the 7,000th review of Ocarina of Time that they're hankering for, or whatever else.
The internet's weird because on one hand, there's an extremely like must be in the moment element to video content where you have to stay trendy in order to
That's why we're doing this game a year after it came out.
Yo, man, BrainScratch Comms is the definition of trendy. Oh man, have you guys watched this Let's Play channel styled a la 2011 in the year 2023? I certainly do. Please watch us. Give us money.
Okay, but like
you can also like just make extremely niche things that have everlasting appeal that people can find. Like, there's always going to be somebody who's going to be like, you know what? I want to learn more about the 100 Years' War between France and England, and then you can go on YouTube and look up a documentary about that, and people will watch it for forever.
Whatever happened to Disney's Fast Pass? There's a guy who made a documentary on that.
One of my favorite channels, and it's actually a really successful channel with like views in the million range per video, is Townsend's, and it's primarily an 18th century cooking channel with a side order of, we're going to do this long series on actually building an 18th century style homestead and doing stuff on that. And it's my Zen relaxation technique these days. Is just like booting up my computer and watching it like 20 minutes of videos from that channel.
I like watching videos about Age of Empires 2 because it's an RTS I played when I was 9, and they're still releasing content for it. So even though I don't really play the game anymore, I just listen to people talk about this game, and it's just like, I vaguely remember what that does.
It's one of those ancient games that still gets support, like EverQuest. Oh,
yeah.
EverQuest still gets support.
Yeah.
Yes, surprisingly. There was a new version of Dwarf Fortress that released like a couple months ago.
Okay. The Lord of the Rings Online is still getting support, okay? You don't underestimate how long this shit can go on.
You can still play Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah.
You know, like
that was in the same year as EverQuest, or at least close to it, I think.
Yeah.
Old enough to have been around when Sword Art Online was written, in any case.
You can still find people playing Duke Nukem 3D death matches. So like, if there's an ancient game, I mean, there might not be. I mean,
well, I mean the Duke Nukem 3D stuff and the Doom stuff, that's all like player driven. It's kept alive by the players on like their own servers and shit. But like, stuff like Ultima Online, which is still around, that has to be actively maintained by the developers to stay alive. And surprisingly, it is. Ultima Online is the crustiest, oldest shit ever, by the way, so I have no idea why anyone wants to play it anymore. But they do.
Well, I think I know why, and that's because they're never getting a new Ultima game. So, you know, gotta stick with what you got.
I mean, there was Shroud of the Avatar, but that turned out to be kind of a disappointment, unfortunately.